Hi friends, welcome to the NPTEL course Strategy and Technology, a Practical Primer. We are in week 3 with the theme of Strategy Execution. In this lecture, which is the 12th in this series, we discuss the topic of structure as enabler. Every company, small or large, a company by itself or as a conglomerate, has certain basic elements of strategic management. These are 4 in total. 1. Vision, mission and values. This is the first group of factors that determines what a business or company should be over a time frame. The time frame could be 5 years, 10 years, in some cases even 15 years. There are companies which have their vision, mission and values set for life. Second, strategy. Strategy reflects a series of approaches and steps to convert the vision and mission into reality. Structure, a topic which we have gone through in recent lectures, is a platform for the business and the related organization to execute the strategy. And finally, the most important aspect of execution, which is conducting through the structure various acts and activities to convert the strategy into reality. Great visions, great missions and great values stay for perpetuity. In contrast, strategy, structure and execution is the triad which requires tweaking and at times major restructuring from time to time. Leaders must accord continuous attention to strategy, structure and execution. This is an essential triad for leaders to focus on. I said that vision and mission could be for perpetuity. Let us look at the statements of leading global pharmaceutical manufacturers in respect of their respective vision and mission statements. Pfizer: we apply science and our global resources to bring therapies to people that extend and significantly improve their lives. Merck: we aspire to be the premier research-intensive biopharmaceutical company in the world. Novartis, another multinational giant in pharmaceutical field: our mission is to discover new ways to improve and extend people's lives. Our vision is to be a trusted leader in changing the practice of medicine. Abbott: live your best life now and in the future. AstraZeneca: we push the boundaries of science to deliver life-changing medicines. GSK: we are a science-led global healthcare company with a special purpose to help people do more, feel better, live longer. BMS or Bristol Myers Squibb: to discover, develop and deliver innovative medicines that help patients prevail over serious diseases. Amgen, biopharmaceutical company: its vision is as follows. Amgen strives to serve patients by transforming the promise of science and biotechnology into therapies that have the power to restore health or save lives. In everything we do, we aim to fulfill our mission to serve patients. Roche, a very simple statement: doing now what patients need next. That is, we are always futuristic. Allergan: to continue as an innovative, technology-driven global healthcare company focused on pharmaceuticals in specialty markets that deliver value to customers, satisfy unmet medical needs and improve patients' lives. We can see that generally, save Amgen and Allergan, the vision and mission statements are so broad but at the same time so effective that they would continue to lead their respective organizations on their growth paths. Business, however, is all about delivering results. Leaders of corporations deliver results not merely by having a good vision and mission, but by deploying products and services, establishing facilities, getting together people, and marshalling capital. These serve people, businesses, markets, and ecosystems of a nation or the world in general. So companies have got 4 parts of the ecosystem: the facility and vendor part, the product and services part, the capital resource part, and the human resource part. These constitute, in my opinion, a concentric circle model. People are core and central to the company. Business comes next. Markets, which define the businesses, come next. And finally, the ecosystem of the organization or the company, that is the industrial and economic ecosystem, come at the macro level. Strategic leadership is also about its own distinct process alchemy. one that makes ideas take shape as plans and get executed to deliver the desired results. There is no set process as on the production floor or in the R&D laboratory. Strategic management gets done through the strategic instinct and the strategic philosophy that the CEO has and the CXOs have. Core purpose, however, doesn't change. We considered previously several shifts in operating models and structures as being dramatic. However, the core purpose of customer centricity doesn't change. The greater the customer centricity, the easier the transition from one state of industry to another state of industry, or one state of the firm to another state of the firm. Let's take 6 examples. There's a lot of digital personalization that is going to happen in banking. It will lead to financial empowerment as like never before. However, is the customer service as the corpus changing? No. Customer centricity in banking will remain what it was and will probably become even more intensified. If you look at the automobile industry, the technology is simply moving at great pace towards autonomous and connected automobiles. And from transportation of owned vehicles, we are moving to mobility of any type of vehicle. So mobility has emerged as a service. Here again, the focus hasn't shifted from customer service. In fact, it looks at enhanced customer service. When you look at the pharmaceutical industry, healthcare as patient right and as a company's responsibility means that patient continues to be at the core of the firm's existence. In the area of renewables, concern for the planet is the very visible dimension, which means what? Planet as a whole is the customer for which the renewable industry is trying to grow. Firm modernization, it tries to align the firm productivity with the farmer's security. Again, the citizen of the country and the producer of agro products, they are the key players and the core of the strategic management for this sector. Omni-channel marketing. The whole idea is to serve the customers better, improve the outreach of the firms, improve the access of the products, but the overarching motto is customer service. The core purpose is customer service, regardless of the types of digital transformations and other technological transformations that are occurring in various types of industry. Therefore, leaders should not look at industry restructuring only in terms of structural and strategic factors. They should appreciate how each and every change in strategy or structure affects, impacts, and benefits the customer. That is, the way the customers are served must be different and improved as a result of the transformations. Leadership's primary engagement must be with the customer and not with anything else on priority. Ways of serving the customer could vary, but the ways are not the primary purpose. The customer is the primary purpose. The locus must change from customer interactions to product customer experiences. That is going to be the big change. Leaders label strategies. Leaders look at strategies as labeled process outcomes. And they view strategies in terms of filters. They think of strategies as propelling their firms towards the desired results. They see strategies as ones that transform their companies in terms of certain key themes. Accordingly, strategy practice has evolved to appeal to a wide range of leaders in terms of 3 broad categories. The first set is the set of competitive strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, and niche positioning. The second is a set of corporate strategies such as integration, diversification, joint venture, merger, acquisition, globalization, and strategic alliance. The third, the conventional, traditional ones, a set of functional strategies: market share building, product portfolio development, operational excellence, etc. Whichever way strategy is reviewed, its linkages with external environment and internal capabilities cannot be ignored, and they won't change at all. Great leaders, therefore, build not only high internal capabilities, but also make those capabilities respond to and cope with environmental dynamics. They understand the environment as much as they understand the organizations. Leadership and strategy are very much linked. Iconic leadership truly emerges when apex leaders face unprecedented, unexpected, and extraordinary challenges. JRD Tata and Ratan Tata faced such extraordinary constraints and challenges but excelled in strategy and execution. That's why we think of them as iconic leaders. JRD Tata, who was the chairman of Tata Group between 1938 and 1991, faced a very highly regulated regime. Nationalization of Air India, it's his brainchild, and his baby, which he nursed, was nationalized. Economic and civil environment was adversely impacted by wars during his tenure. He grew Tata Group into a huge conglomerate and brought much respect and trust for the group. That's why he was awarded with Bharat Ratna. Ratan Tata, who was the chairman between 1990 and 2012, also faced several adverse circumstances. He faced global competition as the Indian economy opened up. He also saw global economic meltdown, hurting several parts of his conglomerate. There was deep recession in industrials, and Tata Group was very much into industrials. Yet, he steered the group through the adverse times, made bold globalization moves, and brought global stature for the Tata Group. Cyrus Mistry was the chairman between 2012 and 2016. His tenure was not known for great initiatives, but it was true that he also faced adverse steel demand cycle, and he had to manage the pressures that were brought in with the European steel operations not functioning as was planned when they were acquired. We now have N. Chandrasekaran, who has been the chairman of Tata Group from 2016. He faced adverse impact of Brexit, that is Britain's move away from the European Union. He faced the US-China trade war, and the COVID-19 triggered massive economic contraction from 2020 and the challenges of work from home for several thousands of his employees. And he has come out scathed, yes, but relatively unscathed through this pandemic. Leadership lies in facing unprecedented and unexpected challenges and leading the firm on sustainable and viable growth. Leadership also means being unswerving in the pursuit of long-term vision, but also making agile course corrections, timely course corrections as required. Iconic leaders exemplify strategic management as much as technological innovation and operational excellence. That is the alchemy of leadership. Structure gets developed based on business logic because structure has to follow strategy. Structure is not only the organizational architecture depicting roles and responsibilities of different people in the organization, it also defines the processes of coordination and talent management to support the business logic. So the flow is as follows. Business goals set the context for business strategy. Business strategy sets the context for business structure. Business structure dictates the kind of organization structure the company must have. And when that happens, you start getting business results because goals, strategy, structure, and organization are working together. Firms typically require different business strategies and structures as well as enabling organization structures at different points of time. Each organization structure solves a particular problem, but it could also lead to certain other problems. So the skill lies in managing organizational structure transformations in such a manner that more problems are solved than are created. Any resistance to organizational change must be managed seamlessly and effectively. There are many questions of structure in designing of organizations. We have seen that good organization design leads to less bureaucracy, more efficient process, and therefore cost leadership on one hand. It enables innovation, it enables freedom of thought, therefore enables differentiated product and service offerings. Together they lead to competitive advantage. But to get to a good organization design, we have to answer several questions. Some of these questions pose contradictions. Some of these come in the manner of paradoxes as well. So the important 9 structural questions for any designer of organization are centralization versus decentralization. That is centralization of processes, centralization of power, centralization of responsibilities vis-a-vis decentralization that is desirable. Everyone agrees that if everybody is able to be self-managed and everybody thinks of his or her own plans and executes, it would be great, but it doesn't work. Therefore, there is some amount of centralization that is required so that the hundreds and millions of employees are focused towards few goals and several strategies. The other dilemma of structural designers face is flat versus multi-layered. That is, should we have flat organization structure with few layers or several layers of the organization so that decisions are continuously reviewed and best value of experience and expertise is provided to the organization. The third one is empowerment versus accountability. It, in a way, stems from the first, but is qualitatively and culturally different. Empowerment is the space given to individuals, a space that is felt by the individual in terms of the independence of planning, independence of execution, of course within the total organizational goal system, but something which has to be conducted with responsibility. Accountability, on the other hand, is the linkage of a role and the person to a job that has to be done. So we may be empowered. That doesn't mean that we are not accountable. If we are delivering a particular product to the customer and we take responsibility and the company gives empowerment for that to deliver the way we want, we also must be accountable to making that delivery happen as per the timeline that is set and at the cost level that has been prescribed. So whenever a company is able to successfully manage empowerment and accountability, it moves itself to a higher level of growth path. The fourth one is formal reporting versus informal reporting. Formal reporting leads to bureaucracy. Informal reporting leads to togetherness. But at the same time, both can be misused either by design or by default. So how do you really strike a right balance? Should it all be corporate driven? Should it all be site driven? If everything is site driven, particularly in multi-location sites, a lot of synergy that could happen between and across sites gets lost. People could be rediscovering the wheel at every site, which is totally a waste of resources and time. On the other hand, excessive centralization of corporate behavior could lead to lack of originality at site level. The site-specific problems may never be bubbled up and there may not be solutions which are appropriate. Toyota's problems with the seats and seat belts and also certain software issues in the North American market were traced to corporate versus site independence or corporate versus site cultural philosophies governing product development and product operation. The sixth dilemma is functional versus product. Organizations can of course be organized functionally, which is the basic and the earliest known way of organizing a company, but they can also be organized product-wise. Product-wise organization has its own benefits, which we will consider as part of this lecture. Should it be a project mode or should it be a matrix organization? Could it be regional or global? Or finally, the question, the philosophy of one firm, that is, whatever we are, should be acting, thinking, and delivering as one firm. Cultural factors and leadership styles at times inhibit the rollout of the right organization structure. An authoritarian leader may prefer a centralized organization structure, while a participative leader may prefer distributed organization structure. However, if the leader is following an inclusive style, even if the organization is centralized, he can bring people together and make them part of an inclusive style of management. Therefore, leadership style may dictate the type of organization structure that has been designed and operated, but the same leadership style can help a leader overcome the disadvantages of an organization structure. he or she might have inherited. There are different organizational structures that are available for a leader to choose from, but structure must follow strategy. For example, a focused mono-product startup, that is a startup which has only a single product, would require a simple functional architecture, whereas a global multi-site network would call for a complex organization structure. It goes without saying. And no single organization structure has the capability to provide complete solutions, particularly if the business is constantly evolving, or if the business has to be modified to evolve in a different direction. Let's look at different organizational structures that are available. The first and foremost is the functional organization. It is the most common form of organization even globally. In this we have three layers: top management, functional departments. Managing director or the CEO represents the top management. He would have functional CXOs, Chief Operations Officer, Chief R&D Officer or Chief Scientific Officer, Chief Corporate Officer, Chief Commercial Officer, and so on. And under each there would be functional departments headed by General Manager or Vice Presidents in charge of supply chain and production, for example in operations, basic research and applied research in respect of R&D, and marketing and finance in respect of corporate. There are obviously several other functions which need to be combined together or handled separately. Secretarial and legal is one function which could report directly to the managing director. There would be human resources, there would be regulatory affairs, there would be information technology. This organization structure that is depicted here is only illustrative. In a functional organization, different functions undertake activities of different regions and businesses. It is left to the functions to be equitable. It is left to the functions to work together in the interests of the overall organization while supporting their own interests. And coordination between and across functions is very much important to fulfill the business goals. On the positive side, in a functional organization, it is ease of functioning that is very important. It is easy to set up, easy to operate. But the biggest negatives are in terms of problems of coordination, problems of equity among different businesses, and a feeling of superiority amongst functions, that this function is superior, that function is inferior. That reduces the effectiveness of functional organization as the product portfolio and the business portfolio of a company evolves. Another type of organization structure is geographic organization. Here again we have top management at the top, MD and the CXOs, but we have regional management and then regional specializations. A company which is global could have Americas organized as one region, EU organized as another region, APAC as another region. And within each region, you may have regional specialization. Americas could be specializing in sales and R&D. EU could be R&D and production powerhouses, whereas APAC could be supply chain and production powerhouses. And all of these things could have marketing as an adjunct and very important delivery function. In a geographic organization, different regions are responsible for their own P&L, managing their businesses through regionalized products and functions. The positives of a geographic organization are as follows. One, regional specialization. The market conditions in India are different from those in China or those in East Asian economies or those in Japan and so on. So regional specialization helps good geographic marketing, good geographic product development. Usually geographic organization is driven by sales and marketing and operations. But the negatives are problems of coordination across the geographies, again problems of equity among different products and businesses, and duplication of costs. The third type of organization is the SBU organization. SBU is nothing but Strategic Business Unit as an abbreviation. SBUs are usually built around products. You can think of SBU organization as an evolution of the product organization. Here we have top management comprising the CEO and CXOs. But depending upon the nature of the businesses, each business may be deemed to be a vertical which requires its own organization. It could be a geographic organization or it could be a functional organization. So in a diversified automobile company, SBUs would be passenger car SBU, commercial vehicle SBU, construction machinery SBU, as an illustration. And each would have its own functions to drive the growth of that particular business. Different SBUs are responsible for their own P&L. They manage their businesses as if they are one autonomous company, and they have product and regions spread within their wings. The positives are specialization based on the business, good P&L metrics. Usually they are driven by product lineups which synchronize with the business character and market character. The negatives are SBUs typically have problems of shared services, resource allocation amongst different SBUs, and conflicts of cross-subsidization across SBUs. The other type of organization is the matrix organization. Organizations can be organized in terms of a matrix of head office functions and regions products. Typically, matrix organization works well in multinational, global transnational organizations. Again, we have top management comprising MD and the CEO, but there would also be a global management which comprises different functions, and a regional management which is specialized in respect of the specialties that are sought to be developed in that particular region. The global organization itself can be organized either functionally or SBU wise. I have demonstrated here how it is organized in terms of functions. And there will be coordination with regional subsidiaries in terms of function to function or SBU to SBU coordination. Regional executives tend to have dual reporting to regions as well as global. That is, every region will have an MD who would report to either the global MD or a very senior functionary of the global corporation. The executives who work under the MD will report to the MD at the local level and also to the senior functionary at the global level. The advantages of matrix organization are that it provides one firm concept, aligns the global strategy very well along with execution, and it also ensures there is an effective global resource deployment. The negatives: suboptimization of regional opportunities and talent, typically deliberative and slow to respond to local opportunities and challenges. What will be the level of sophistication that has been brought in? The parent corporation tends to have certain biases, either of natural evolution or leadership approaches, and that limit the effectiveness of regions which are distanced from the parent headquarters. There are also some hybrid organization structures. For some firms in some industries, it may be necessary to have multiple organization structure under the same corporate canopy. I'll illustrate the example of a large chemical company. The overall business of the company is chemicals, but it has three distinct businesses. One is specialty chemicals, second is pharma ingredients, third is the electric battery materials business. And there are different drivers in each of these business. The specialty chemicals business is driven by the type of customers, which is customers which require paint additives, customers which require pigments, customers which require agrochemicals, and so on. Pharma ingredients is organized by the type of chemistry. Electric battery materials is organized by the type of OEM and battery. So the relevant organization structures also vary depending upon the nature of the business and its product characteristics. We require for specialty chemicals business a regional business organization. For the pharma ingredients, we require a product organization because of the depth of chemistry, depth of specialization that drives this business. Electric battery materials require global matrix organization because it is truly global in terms of its evolving technology and its networking requirements that happen. So, hybrid organization is possible within the canopy of one single company. I would say that matrix organization is a microcosm of a global organization. That's because global organizations are best organized through the matrix of head office functions and regions stroke products. So this is the example which I have personally experienced. Therefore, I am very happy to present this as well. The parent company has a global CEO and it would have global functions, operations, quality, scientific affairs, financial affairs, and so on. Regional subsidiaries have their regional CEO, and there will be several regional functions. Each regional function would report to the corresponding global function, whereas the regional CEO may report the senior most global functionary or the most important global functionary or the global CEO himself or herself. In a global matrix organization, different subsidiaries are responsible for their operations under legal jurisdictions, but manage themselves as if they are part of one global firm. They operate as guided companies under parent company policies and strategies. The positives of this organizational structure are the following: global uniformity and resource deployment, economies of scale and scope, with proper guidance, global optimization. We may produce in India but serve the entire global markets of the company. That would not be possible if we don't have a global matrix structure. Everything will be done in a very disparate and diffused manner. The negatives: the global matrix often fails to detect subsidiary opportunities and risks because it is governed by a strong governance system which is weighed towards standardization and uniformity. It sets certain constraints on subsidiary business growth. These are the difficulties of a matrix organization. There are other types of organizations as well. In rigid bureaucratic organizations, the process conforms to structure to the dot, with vertical interactions being acceptable and horizontal interactions being restricted. In flexible bureaucratic organizations, process flexibility is allowed somewhat, and that helps overcome structural rigidities. On the right side, on type B organization, where process overrides structure. On top left, you have seen type A organization, where process follows structure. In type B organization, although the structure is the same, the processes are a little more flexible. There is also a type C organization, which is the linking pin organization, which is enunciated by Francis Leckert. It talks about several pyramids of the organizational structure getting interlinked. This is an interesting organizational construct which promotes both orderliness and fluidity in organizational structures and processes. Another important organization is the Teal organization. It is a self-managed organization mode. The book Reinventing Organizations talks about that. Teal organizations operate effectively even at a large scale with a system-based peer relationship model. They set up structures and practice in which people have high autonomy in their domain and are accountable for coordinating with others. The idea is to promote wholeness, self-management, and shared purpose. Let's look at three huge circles in a global organization, one comprising marketing, another comprising commercial, and another comprising operations. Each of the countries belonging to those respective domains are listed here, and they have characteristic colors. In the example above, the mini circles in each circle are networked within the circle and with other mini circles in other circles based on the needs and potential to contribute. That's how the mini circles network, leading to greater productivity and greater cohesion in the overall circle management. This is the Teal organization. Whatever is the organizational redesign, the idea must be to ensure agility with stability, but that is a conundrum as well. A 2015 analysis of McKinsey's Organizational Health Index showed that companies with both speed and stability have a 70% chance of being ranked in the top quartile by organizational health. That is, if an organization has speed but at the same time ensures stability in its operations, it is able to be top performing in the total ranking. And the model is like this. We have as stable elements three pillars: standardization, stability, and strength to the organization. And in terms of the dynamic elements, clear goals, fluid process, and agility. When we combine these two, we will get to the competitiveness paradigm. When you have strength of the organization and agility of the organization is likely to be more competitive. Similarly, when you have standardization in the organization and clear goals, the organization will be robust. When we have competitive, strong organization, the results will be high-performing results. Extra dynamism comes from two overarching roles in the organization. One, that of a business process owner who champions and improves each signature process, and 2, that of an integrator who is responsible for cross-functional collaboration, execution, and performance management. So when we do a redesign of organizations, we should look at combining stable elements of the organization, which are standardization, stability, and strength, with the dynamic elements of the strategy, which are clear goals, fluid process, and agility, so that the organization is not only strong and robust, but is also competitive. Each organization tends to have signature process. Much as agile companies underpin the new dynamism with a degree of stability in their structure and governance, they also create a stable backbone for key processes. These are usually signature processes which these companies excel at. These can explicitly be standardized but are hard for competitors to replicate. Procter & Gamble is a brand and innovation-driven global consumer goods company. Its product development and external communication are high on the list of signature processes in respect of that company. Amazon is a global e-commerce company with boundaryless product delivery. It has got synchronized supply chain, common language and standards, identifying clear decision rights and handoffs. These are the signature processes for Amazon. For Apple, which is a global consumer electronics company with design innovation and manufacturing excellence, the signature processes are innovative perfection and perfect innovation. And these cover design, manufacture and delivery. These are the twin signature processes of Apple. Certain other companies have got other signature process. Idea to market is in respect of one company. Market to order, order to cash, cash to hand, invest to design, design to manufacture. That is, certain parts of the process value chain are maximized for impact by certain companies. That constitutes their organizational core strength. Whenever we are doing a redesign of organizations, we have to see that the impactful signature processes are retained and new signature processes which add additional strength and dynamism to the company are added. When everyone understands how these key tasks are performed, who does what and how, and when stage gates are driving the timetable for new investment, organizations can move more quickly by redeploying people and resources across units, countries, and businesses. In other words, everyone must speak the same standardized language. How do we determine the DNA of an organization? We talked about stability and agility. The stability of an organization could be weak. The stability of an organization could also be strong. Similarly, the speed of organization's processes and its behavior could be slow or fast. So when you plot organizations on these two dimensions of stability and agility, we get 4 types of organizational DNA. The first is one which is trapped. That is, it's not stable. It is slow in its responses. Such a trapped organization looks unsure, unreliable, siloed, politically constrained, stuck, rigid, turf protecting, risk averse, and repetitive. If an organization is strong but its agility is poor, it tends to be a bureaucratic organization. It is stable, standardized, reliable, centralized, rule-bound, inflexible, silent, assured, reliable, predictable. These are the characteristics of a bureaucratic organization. If an organization is weak in terms of its stability but very fast in terms of its agility, it displays startup-like characteristics. It will be very disorderly, chaotic, frenetic, free-for-all, boundaryless, ad hoc, unpredictable, knee-jerk, unfocused. These are good situations for a startup company to achieve its milestones very quickly. But for large organizations, it may be difficult to manage this kind of disorderly situation within its overall stable organizational system. On the other hand, if you have an organization which is very strong, stable, and agility which is on the highest level of scale, then those organizations will be efficient, effective, flexible, results-driven, responsive, decisive, collaborative, open, resilient, and competitive. The organization DNA is represented in terms of these 4 dimensions. It is possible to self-evaluate an organization by these reflections, say 1 mark for each characteristic of a quadrant, and determine to which class the organization belongs. That is, a questionnaire can be administered to the key players in the organization on these factors that are described here and get the marks and see where the company belongs to in terms of its organizational DNA. Thank you. With this, we reach the end of this lecture. We'll meet you again in the next lecture.